these are feelings that I had. These are things that I had to work through at different stages of my life over the last, 10, 15 years, and how I made it over to the other side. And so while the chapter may only be, 10 pages, it did not happen in 10 days for me. I didn't come to a revelation in 10 days that some of these lessons that I learned were years later, where I did look back in hindsight and say, okay, it was good for me to be afflicted. It was good for me to be alone. It was good for me to walk through that season. And this is what it now produced in me.
Who's ready for some girl talk?
Welcome to Girl Talk. I'm Nicole D. Miller, author, blogger, speaker, hybrid book publisher, and your host. At Girl Talk, we are a safe space for female leaders to engage in healing and edifying conversation. This is your Me Too empathetic corner, where we have authentic and transformative dialogue designed to uplift and connect high-achieving women like you. Are you looking for a safe space to cultivate sisterhood with other like-minded female bosses? Leave your cape at the door and join the conversation. Welcome to Girl Talk, where female leaders come together to heal through sisterhood and honest conversation. I'm your host, Nicole D. Miller. Today, I'm excited to welcome Adrianne Joy, the newest author of N.D. Miller Publishing. Adrianne is an author, speaker, culture analyst, and joy strategist who guides women to discover joy, even in life's most unexpected and challenging moments. Through storytelling, practical insights, and biblical wisdom, she encourages readers to let go of the pressure to perform and embrace a faith grounded in grace and belonging. A sought-after speaker for churches and organizations, Adrianne inspires audiences to live with intention, freedom, and joy. In this heartfelt conversation, Adrianne and I discuss developing a healthy perspective on church hurt, the importance of community support and divorce care, and how to overcome life's hardships without losing hope. We also explore what it means to hold on to the promise that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. This is a conversation about healing, perspective, faith, and rediscovering joy after disappointment. If you need a meaningful space that offers empathy, hope, and encouragement through hard times, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and join the conversation. Hi, guys, and welcome to Girl Talk 101. I'm your host, Nicole D. Miller, and I have a special guest today, Mrs. Adrianne Joy. Hi, Adrianne.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Nicole.
Just to give you guys some behind-the-scenes tea, we are persevering through take 6. But we really wanted you guys to get all of Miss Adrianne Joy and what she has to offer. So here we are. She is actually a very special guest because not only is she an amazing speaker, mom, wife, a senior executive businesswoman, but she is the latest client for N.D. Miller Publishing. Yay! Share with us your book and what you published, Adrianne.
Fantastic. Yep. The book is called Finding Joy Where Grace Meets the Hard Places. And it launched in May of 2026. And we've been going strong ever since.
Has it been May? Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And we did have a tight deadline. I'm just remembering how tight that was. I'm going to keep it 100. That was like the closest deadline I think I've ever met. I wasn't worried because to date, I've always met the deadline. Like, that's just the grace of my life. But it was close. But can you give us some information about that?
Well, yeah, so this whole journey was never, I never set out to do this, if that makes sense. So I started writing back in 2012, just journaling some things about what was going on in my life. And I stopped doing that maybe, 2013 or 14. And then fast forward to 2024, I was at a speakers conference and I heard just very clearly the Lord say to pull out that content that I had written. And I wasn't even sure where I had saved it and all of that. He walked me straight to where I had put in my Dropbox way back then. And I read it and I was just amazed at what I was reading. I'm like, this sounds really, really good. And so the Lord instructed me to just keep writing, adding to it. And I did over the course of 2024 and all of 25. And as I got towards the end of it, the Lord said, we're going to publish this into a book. I'm like, I don't know how. Like, I don't even know what the next steps would be. That's not an area that I've ever been interested in or anything like that. And the Lord does what he does. He always brings connections and people. So one of my girlfriends, she said, hey, I have a friend that I went to college with and she is a publisher. She would be fantastic for this. And she made the connection with you and I. And so from there, even through the process, your team was fantastic in doing it. But I had some other personal life stuff that was going on with my family that was pulling me away from the process, probably stretching out that timeline a bit because I couldn't get back to you guys in certain time frames. So it was a journey. We made it to the finish line and it's here.
And you bringing all of that back, it's like you were going through a lot of hard things. And I'm like, girl, we can put a pin in this. But you were so tenacious to be obedient to the vision that God put in your heart. And I'm intrigued too, as you mentioned, you had content written down before. So when did you start writing your story? What was that process for you? Were you just kind of writing things here and there on your phone, on a computer, during downtime? Like, what did that look like?
I was really starting on my phone. It was the notes in my phone. Like I said, in 2012, I can tell you where I was. I was on my way in the car in the passenger seat riding to Savannah, Georgia. And I was just hearing certain things. I would just write down a phrase, a statement, a couple of words. Then I was also simultaneously journaling different things that were going on in my life at that time, how I was feeling just as a therapeutic type of activity that I was doing. But again, I never thought it would be a book. I never thought anybody else would read it besides me, kind of thing. And so to see it now in print is like, I'm in shock. I'm in awe that this is the story.
And it's so good. Like, I was moved and ministered to, even prophetically, while reading it as an editor. So
Wow.
I know that you are anointed based on the things that you walk through and have overcome. And now on the other side, so you can help other people. Can you kind of walk us through a little bit of how you got to where you are today? How did you discover purpose? How did you learn your identity?
Yeah, I would say it's not been a very linear journey. It has been a journey of trial and error. It's been a journey of hitting my head up against the wall. It's been a journey of me running from God and him snatching me back. But I would say that purpose in a bigger nutshell is being who God created me to be and doing what he's assigned me to do, no matter the season, no matter the audience, no matter what it costs me. It doesn't matter. Doing those things. And there have been seasons where there are things that I thought I wanted to do or I imagined myself doing whatever. It looks good. I saw somebody else do it and I'm like, oh, let me do that. And I would go do that. And I might have even been successful in that endeavor, but I didn't feel me, right? I still felt like, no, I'm still not it. The goalpost kept moving. The finish line kept moving. If I can achieve this level in a career, if I can achieve this amount of money or whatever it was. But when I achieved those things, I still didn't feel full. So I ascribe purpose to that feeling of fullness of like, I know I am exactly where I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to. So even in our connection, I knew it was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I had been looking for I'm Googling how to publish a book, find me publishers near me, right? Like I'm doing all these things and none of those things felt solid and secure and sure. But when I connected with you and we had our initial consultation, I'm like, there it is, right? So I think the Holy Spirit certainly just allows you to feel that level of peace, right? In regards to what you're doing or who you're doing it with or what have you.
I love that you talk about how purpose helps you feel full and fulfilled. And when you talk about peace, I'm reminded of something I just learned recently. I heard someone share, the enemy can give signs, but he can't give peace. And
Mm.
so you can find counterfeits of things and think this may be God because it's a sign, but does it give you peace?
Oh, yes.
And even you sharing how you and I connected, and I shared this before, like I was going through a really difficult season of a lot of hardships. And so you being brought to me, as well as my other author, it was so refreshing. It was God giving me my reward. I knew that you guys were in alignment, that you were kingdom powerhouse leaders, and that we were going to be in purpose together. And I resonate too with feeling like you've never felt this way before. Like that's how I felt with writing. My background's in business and accounting, and I've done a lot of things, and I've been in purpose in a lot of things. But writing was a side of me that had been unleashed that I didn't know existed. Do you feel like you resonate with that? Was that a side that you were like surprised by?
For sure. I think writing, there's several pieces on the creativity side that's like I'm not that type brain. I'm more of your say business, let's get it done type of personality. But that and then ministry in general. I've grown up in church my whole life and I've been in ministry my whole life, but I don't think I thought that it would consume me in the way that it is consuming me now. I never thought that I would go back to school to pursue a degree in theology. I never thought that would be something that I would even be interested in. Quite frankly, I wasn't interested in it. Right. But I felt God pulling me in that direction. And at a time in my life where I stopped resisting God, it kept me with more energy to not resist than just to go, just to go in the direction he was pulling me. And so that's how I've gotten down the pathway in several different areas of my life where it was better for me to follow him, even though I was unsure at the start of it. It didn't make sense. I couldn't connect the dots. I didn't see the end state. I didn't know, but I just knew he gave me just enough light for the next step that I needed to make. And if I kept following that, then I've now been able to reach back in certain seasons, certain areas of my life. I can look back and say, hey, it does make sense. It was good for me to be afflicted.
Do you know the scripture reference for that?
Yes, yes. It is Psalms 119. We say King David, who said it was good for me to be afflicted. But I mean, that scripture resonates, right? I think hindsight is 2020. My granny used to say, just keep on living, just keep on living. And as a kid, I'm like, what? You don't know what you're talking about. But she would just say, keep on living. And as I've kept on living, I understand more and more and more what she was referencing, where you can look back. And while you would have never signed up for some of those seasons, you would have never volunteered to be divorced, to be fired, to be rejected, to be betrayed. You would never sign up for that. But when I look back, because it did happen, now I can say, no, that was good for me. I needed that. It shaped me. It shaped my character. It made me be this way or act this way or have more compassion in this space. Whatever it is, there was a reason for it.
Powerful, and I'm still hit by that scripture. It was good for me to be afflicted. I want to dive a little deeper into your experience of healing. So you went through these really hard battles. What were some tools that you used that aided you in healing?
Certainly therapy. I am definitely a therapy plus Jesus type of chick. If you need a therapist, go get one. It's no shame in your game for sure. To kind of be able to be vulnerable in a space and take up all the space. Right. Sometimes we bleed all over social media. We bleed all over other people who can't really provide the support that you need, or you can have a safe space. And with a therapist, you can bleed out if you like, right? And they're equipped, they're trained to help you kind of navigate those conversations, those feelings, those emotions. So certainly therapy. I read several books in that space. There's one by Dr. Nita Phillips called The Garden Within. That certainly blessed me, helping me to understand my own emotions and how I can process through some of those things. But also music. Pastor Travis Green, during the time when I was going through a divorce. His album called Intentional single-handedly walked me through that season. Another thing was divorce care. It's a national organization that most churches have programming for. And I attended that 2 or 3 times as a student and then eventually became a facilitator for that. And that's one of those things where you just mentioned, I realized that I was a purpose when I was facilitating that. I would have never signed up to be in the class because that means I was divorced. I would have never signed up to do that. But because I went through that, I was able to now operate in purpose by facilitating and helping others through it.
I love it. And I do think that that's what makes us an expert in an area. We've walked through it ourselves. We have an anointing, we have knowledge and information to give to the people behind us. And what better way to do that than with a book?
Mhm.
So, can you give us a little bit more information on what is in your book? When readers open it, what are they going to find?
Yeah. So ideally, you are finding a reflection of you. You can find yourself, your story, pieces of your story within the book. There is no two stories that are the same, but ideally, when we go through situations, right, the enemy, what you reference, he's very subtle. He likes to deal things in the subtle stuff. But the enemy makes you feel like you're unique and nobody understands what you're going through. Nobody else has been through what you've been through. But the reality is, and where healing often is when you find community who does understand. They may not have had that same exact person that you dated or married and who did that thing to you, and they didn't have that friendship that fell apart, but they do understand what rejection feels like. They do understand what betrayal and deceit feel like. And so ideally, you are able to find yourself, pieces of yourself within the book. Every chapter really focuses on a specific emotion, a specific feeling that we all feel and will continue to feel as we continue to live and keep on living. The first part of every chapter is kind of like a fiction story. It has characters and dialogue and that kind of thing, but it helps to bring the readers to a centralized point of that emotion. And then we dive into what does the Bible say about this, right? And it's not a traditional read this scripture, go do this, that kind of thing, but it is infused in that girlfriend chit chat, sit on the couch, lay back, and let's have a conversation about how do we reframe our mind around our hardships.
Hmm. And as someone who's read the book, I can personally testify that that is correct. I 100% agree. It makes it feel like a friend is talking to you, like you as the author are my friend. And really, that is the vibe of Girl Talk. So you fit perfectly in this community. And you touched on community. I'm such a big advocate for community. And I think that we can all go through different things, but still have similar experiences and relate to each other, right? And offer that type of support system. What are some of the support systems that you would say have been consistent in your journey or maybe have popped up specifically for specific trials or hard times in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned divorce care. That was certainly a support system. It's a class that's walking you through all the different types of things that you go through as a part of the divorce process. But within it, you find community, other people who are either right where you are or who have been there, that you can lean on. And oftentimes in divorce, it's collateral damage. Friends are collateral damage sometimes. And so you need to establish new friendships, new spaces. And so that's a good place to start. But I would also say just your church home, right? Making community there, having accountability, whether those are women's groups or small groups or life groups or any of those types of things. And essentially, that's what I've been able to do. And the Lord just continues to bring certain people just at the right time for whatever it is that I need so that I can have somebody. We were never meant to do this alone, right? That's how God created us, for us to not be alone. And so that is really the foundation of community. And you have to find it. Being isolated is what the enemy wants you to do.
I feel like finding joy is for anyone who is going through a difficulty. And so you've mentioned one demographic, right? Divorcees. I've never been through a divorce, but I've walked closely with friends who have. And it's like a rebuilding of your identity, a rebuilding of your community. And I've noticed people like disappear from social media going through divorce. Would you say there's some shame that is a part of it, especially in the faith community? Like, what is your experience
For
with that?
sure. For sure. I mean, I think it has historically been a taboo topic and, people kind of like you said, there's shame, there's guilt, there's probably condemnation wrapped around it, but not just divorce, right? I mean, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of things, like you said, that lead us to the place of shame, lead us to a place of guilt, lead us to a place of feeling condemned or less than, or that we are isolated, right? So all of those things, no matter how you get there, the situation that leads you there, that's where God meets us in that spot. And that's essentially what the book is about. So I don't want to confuse that it's about divorce. You have to be divorced or anything like that. That's just one of the things that I had to go through. But this book is essentially taking us to all these central places that we all feel, no matter what that journey was to that emotion, we all get there somehow. And how is God going to bring us on the other side?
Agreed. I definitely feel like, for me, it gives devotional vibes because it was my quiet time. I could read it in the morning when my spirit is calm and at peace, and hearing God through you and through these experiences of your characters and relating to them, and then going on that journey, thinking about my experiences and kind of walking through that. Would you say it is similar, or you have something forthcoming that's similar, or it's in that wheelhouse?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely in the right vein. I am working on a companion workbook that will be for people who want to go just beyond inspiration and move into more practical application or transformation. And that is where we will have some deeper, more biblical studies, word studies, things of that sort, so that you can then take it and apply it to your life. I think books are great, audiobooks, whatever. All these things are great. Videos are great. But if you can't make the connection between what is said to how do I apply it, what difference does it make? Ultimately, I want to make sure that that gap is closed as it relates to the content of the book, is that you know how to apply this so that your life can be forever changed. You don't have to come back around this mountain again.
Mm, I know. We're trying to get out out the loop of the mountain,
Get
okay?
out the mountain, get out the wilderness, child, get out.
So, this is a new season for you, Adrian, and you've done a lot of things and have a lot of accomplishments. Where are you seeing this going? Like, where is this path taking you?
Hopefully right into the center of purpose. But you know what? I don't know. Like, I think I gave up trying to map out my life a while ago
Mhm,
because the reality is I don't know. I don't know enough about myself. I
mm,
certainly don't know enough about God to know what he's thinking about me.
mm.
And so when I take my hands off of what the plans for my life are, the better I feel, right? I'm not overwhelmed and anxious about things that I can't even figure out how those puzzle pieces and everything's going to align to that. And the deeper my trust in God grows,
Mm.
because ultimately I know that he has a plan and a purpose for me and that he is equipping me for whatever it is, right? So I can have an inkling of like, I see myself here doing these things. I see myself on stages and platforms and what have you. How we gonna get there? I don't know. I have no clue, but he's just giving me just enough light for the next step that I need to make. And if I can just keep following that and following peace, I just believe that I will land right in the middle of his will.
Agreed. And I love your humility to say, I don't know. And I think as female leaders, we can often struggle with feeling like we need to know, we need to have the answer. And so, from my personal experience, it has been that submission. And that is a word that is not as popular in the leadership community, I guess, female leadership community. But as a faith based person, it is dire, it is vital. And so I have learned how I have to let go of control. It
Mhm.
is not an easy journey, it is a day to day choice.
That's right. That's right.
How do you feel like that experience was for you? Was it hard? Did you have to bump your head? I mean, what did it take for you to get there?
Yes, to answer all the questions you just had. Yes. Yes, it took all of that and it continues to take, right? So like there is no finish line in that. I think it's a daily choice to trust God. It's a daily choice to relinquish the power and the control that we think we have over
Mm,
our lives and the power over the decisions that we're making. It's a daily choice. And so if I've chosen to follow Jesus, and that's the decision that I've made, then every other choice that I make has to line up with that decision. So if I'm following him, I can't be in the driver's seat. I can't be the one ahead. I can't be the one to make this decision without consulting him, right? Like that doesn't work. So yes, there was many a days of me bumping my head and completely failing and bombing out and crashing out, as my daughter says, like all the things. There's many, many, many days that I've done that, or even times when I thought I have relinquished control, but then I realized I picked that back up. Here I am with that thing once again. Here I am up at night pacing about this thing. So it's I think, an ongoing process that we all have to do, because that's what our flesh wants to do. Our flesh wants to take control. Our flesh thinks we know better. We know more. I could get this done faster if I just do it. Right? But God's timing is perfect. His plan is perfect. And we just have to rest in that.
And you definitely touched on something that hit me, was like, we think we have control, but we really don't,
We don't.
because he's the master.
Correct.
So it's delusion. It's like,
Correct.
okay, this delusion is making me feel like I have control, but I really don't. So it's deception. I need to keep reminding myself of that. Like, you're not in control. You just think you are, and that's
right.
deception. So in your book, there are so many different topics that resonate with anyone going through difficulty. You have betrayal, you have rejection, you have shame, you have guilt. Are there any keys that you can give someone who is dealing with any number of those things, if they're in the darkest of the valley of the shadow of death? And I'm sure you've had your own personal experiences like that. What would you want them to know or to receive from what you've been able to tap into to make it?
I would say, don't walk away from God. A lot of times the hardships, it makes you feel like you want to. It makes you feel like, well, God, I trusted you before, and this is where I'm at. So why do it again? Are you really real? Are you for me? I feel like you for everybody else. I see everybody else winning. Comparison will rob you completely of all joy and all hope. But if you can just find a thread, just a little bit of hope to hold on to God and allow Him into that space with you, then I believe that you will be transformed. You'll be able to start to see little by little that light shining through all that darkness. It may not be an overnight thing. I know we want to say weeping may endure for night, but joy will be here in the morning. It'll be like, literally, it's 12:01. It's morning. Where is that light? So it may not be that, right? But it will come. It does absolutely come. And surrounding yourself with other people who have made it to the other side of hardships can help to remind you when you can't remember that you did too before. Because that's the reality. We did make it over something before. But when you're in that space, you can't remember that. It's not the same for some reason, right? But having other people around you to hold you accountable, to encourage you, to whisper to you, like, you will make it. Hey, I made it. You can make it. Just one day at a time. We don't have to figure it out all today. It doesn't have to be solved all today. Those kind of things. And just hold on. Do not walk away from God.
I love that you reminded us that joy comes in the morning and that we've made it over other things. That goes back to our mental health and our mindset to bounce back. And I know that another topic you touched on is church hurt and now being called back into a space of ministry. How? Like, how do you make that transition when you've been hurt by the church, as many have been, and then you're called to minister to God's bride once again?
Yeah. I think that is certainly a journey. I would say for me, church hurt was also kind of all mixed up with God hurt. I was God hurt and church hurt, and I wanted to throw it all away. And as I started down that path of throwing it all away, there was still something in me that wouldn't allow me to rob the foundation of God from my children. So that was my little itty bitty thread of, for them, I want y'all to know this, but for me, I'm good on it. That's where I was. And I would have honest kind of conversations in my mind. I'm not praying, but in my mind, I'm like, I'm good on this, right? Like, I've tithed, I've sowed, I'm counting down all the accolades, all the things of why I should be exempt from this. Right? But I'm not praying. It's just in my mind. But the Lord's in my mind. He's everywhere, right? It's like he like, yeah. I know what you think you're doing, but anyway, right? But that was my little thread. And little bit by little bit, the Lord kind of just loved me right on back to grace. He loved me back to grace and said, I know you felt abandoned, but I've never left you. I know you thought that I misled you, but I didn't. You're right on track. You're exactly where I wanted you to be. I know. And he just loved me right on back to grace, right on back to that, where then I could look at the church body. And like I said, I always say when people say church hurt, and for some reason, when people are hurt by the church, we toss the whole thing away. Whereas in other areas of our life, if the doctor does you wrong and misdiagnoses you or what have you, you're not tossing the whole medical field away. You're tossing that doctor. You just go find another doctor that you feel like you can trust. But when it comes to church, we throw the whole thing away. And sometimes we throw God away with it. And so being able to be loved back to grace by God, he helps me to see the church body for what it is. We're all people. We all are people. We all are going to make mistakes. There is no handbook for congregants of the church, for pastors of the church on how to handle certain situations. So maybe you were mishandled. But that doesn't change who God called you to be. It doesn't change that God was still present with you. It doesn't change that. So maybe this location, this church body, maybe not the place for you. It doesn't mean that ministry is still not your calling. And so it helped me be able to come full circle, because I was through with all of it. I was done. But it brought me full circle. And then beyond that, like, just blew my mind to send me even deeper into ministry than where I was before I was hurt. Right. But I have a greater appreciation because of that season. I have a greater appreciation for the feelings and the compassion for people who are in that space. Yeah, it's real.
I love it. I love your testimony because it shows you had a personal relationship with God outside of a church structure. I haven't had church hurt in that way, but I can see how me being raised in a single parent home and not having a father, I had a lot of daddy issues.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful thing is I got to know God as my daddy. And so he really filled that space. And he's like you said, he's like, I've never abandoned you. When your mother or father forsake you, I never will.
Yeah.
So I just love that he does that, but it really is that one-on-one personal intimate encounter. And so I love that
Mm-hmm.
you have that. We are coming to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for all of your gems, all of your heartfelt encouragement. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap things up with our audience?
Just to stay connected. I can be found at she's_ajoy on Instagram and TikTok, and as Adrianne Joy on Facebook. You can also find my whereabouts. You can find the book link on adriannejoy.com, and you can also find the book on amazon.com or anywhere books are sold.
Yay! So thank you guys for tuning in to Girl Talk Live with Adrianne Joy. You can catch this episode when it drops on our podcast. Make sure to subscribe, share, save, and like. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
There are some conversations that leave us with more than inspiration. They invite us to reflect on our own healing, purpose, and relationship with God. My conversation with Adrianne was one of those conversations, reminding us that joy isn't the absence of hardship. It's what we discover when God's grace meets us in the most tender places of our hearts. His grace can even get us to the point of saying, it is good for us to be afflicted. Whew. Adrianne's journey teaches us that purpose doesn't always begin with a perfectly constructed plan. Sometimes it starts quietly, in the pages of a journal, in a season of healing, or in the decision to say yes to an assignment we never expected. True purpose isn't defined by society's standards of achievement or success, as Adrianne so eloquently shared. It's found in becoming who God created us to be and faithfully doing what He's called us to do. I appreciate Adrianne's insight about the many forms that support can take when we're going through hard things. Prayer and faith are essential, but God can also bring healing through therapy, support groups, music, books, close relationships, and healthy church communities. As Adrianne reiterates, we were never meant to heal in isolation. There is strength in allowing others to walk beside us, remind us that we're not alone, and help us recognize God's presence in the process. I wasn't aware of divorce care, and I'm so glad Adrianne brought that resource to my awareness. If you're walking through that experience, I encourage you to seek out those types of resources in your community. Perhaps one of the most meaningful lessons from this conversation is that peace can serve as confirmation along the way. We may not always understand where God is leading us, but when we trust His direction, He can give us the peace we need to take the next step. Adrianne's story also reminds us that rejection, betrayal, heartbreak, and disappointment don't disqualify us from experiencing joy or fulfilling our purpose. God can meet us in those very places, heal what's been wounded, and transform our stories into encouragement for someone else. So, sis, as you continue your own journey, give yourself permission to seek help, embrace community, honor your healing process, and remain true to the person God created you to be. Your path doesn't have to look like anyone else's. And in fact, it probably won't. But we all have one thing in common. And that's we are promised that even in the difficult places, grace is present. And joy truly comes in the morning. Be sure to pick up Adrianne's book, Finding Joy, Where Grace Meets the Hard Places. Allow her story to encourage you as you navigate your own experience of healing, faith, and purpose. More information can be learned in the show notes. And remember, I attract amazing women doing amazing things. So guess what, sis? That means you're amazing. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. To continue the conversation, join our Girl Talk community by following @GirlTalkCLE on Instagram and Facebook.com/HTOHB, where you can join the Girl Talk Facebook group. You can follow me personally on Instagram @HTOHB, on Facebook.com/HTOHB, and at YouTube.com/@HTOHB. Feel free to reach out via email info@indiemillerpublishing.com. If you're a writer who wants to take the next steps into becoming a published author, you can book a one-on-one consultation at indiemiller.pub. Just let me know you heard about my publishing house through Girl Talk, and I'll give you a 50% discount on our one-on-one. If you'd like weekly inspirational nuggets, you can subscribe to my blog and monthly newsletter at NicoleDmiller.com, where you can learn more about me and my writings. Till next time.